Hey Frag fam, Corbin here again from Northwest Scent. Today I'm going to be bringing you my top 10 niche fragrances for spring 2021. With spring being a transition season, you do have those warmer days as well as those cooler days, so this list will contain fragrances that are perfect for both of those types of days, as well as nighttime wear or daytime wear, so you get a lot of different variety here, but all of it is perfect for the springtime. In all, this list of fragrances contains quite a few bangers, so please stick around if you're interested in hearing about them. But first, let's roll that intro. All right, welcome back. So before we get into the list of fragrances, I just want to disclose that this is not a rank list from 10 to 1. I mean to bring that up more often, but in general, I do not do rank lists because it's really hard for me to say that this fragrance is better than this one when maybe on another day I like the one that I ranked worst better. So you kind of get what I'm saying. In this particular case, again, this is not a rank list. These are just going to be my top 10 niche fragrances for spring 2021. Also, I do apologize. This is actually my second time filming this video. I had an audio glitch where my mic wasn't plugged in for the entire recording of the first video. So I'm redoing this again. So I'm sorry if I come off a little bit more tired. I'm just having to do this video for round 2. So with that out of the way, let's get into the number 10 spot. So coming in at the number 10 spot, it's a fragrance from Creed, and it is Spice and Wood. Oh my gosh, so I really enjoy this stuff quite a bit. I think this has actually overtaken Himalaya as my second favorite Creed, so much so that I got the full flacon, or the 250 milliliter size bottle. I actually bought this thinking it was the older style, which used to have the spray nozzle in the flacon. Unfortunately, it's not, but nonetheless, I still have a lot of juice, so I will never run out of this stuff. This thing is absolutely amazing. If you can imagine Royal Oud from this house, if you guys have tried that fragrance, it's kind of in the similar style of fragrance because it is quite woody and spicy, just like that fragrance. However, this one is just much more elegant and smoother. That if Royal Oud is just kind of rough around the edges, this is that fragrance rounded out and improved. So this has notes of green apple, there's lemon, bergamot, there's some spices, there's birch, cedar, there's even some musk. So you get a lot going on with this fragrance. I don't get much birch. Birch generally comes off darker and more smoky. You see that used in older style batches of Aventus, which used to be really, really smoky. This is more dominant by the cedar as well as those spices again. And then actually the citruses are quite prominent as well, and they make this fragrance very wearable and a little bit brighter. Without the citruses and then the apple, I don't think that this would be very good for the spring, but with them, it's perfect. This thing just comes off crisp, refreshing, a little bit juicy, with a nice touch of spiciness without being harsh or off-putting, and then a nice woody backbone from that cedar. This is a phenomenal fragrance, very high quality, but it's also very, very expensive. And because of that, I would probably recommend getting a sample before you buy a full bottle. And honestly, a sample would probably be enough just because this is one of those special occasion fragrances. So if you got like a 30 milliliter size decant, that would probably last you a long time, and that's all you really need. Phenomenal fragrance. So again, at the number 10 spot, that was Creed's Spice and Wood. Next, at the number 9 spot, we have a fragrance from Kajal. I've tried a few of their fragrances, and while a lot of them tend to be really heavy and winter oriented, this is a great one for the springtime or even the fall. I would say any of those transition seasons. It is Kajal Homme. So I know what some of you may be thinking. You're looking at just the bottle, the juice color, and you're thinking that's like a winter scent just based on the color. And that's definitely what I thought when I first got this fragrance. This is one that I actually blind bought. I did not sample it before I bought it, but I love it quite a bit. So it was a very good blind buy. As far as the juice color goes, I believe it's from the oud that's in this fragrance, but the oud is not dominant at all. This comes across a lot brighter than you would expect. Again, if you've smelled Chanel's Allure Homme Sport or Allure Homme Sport Eau Extreme, this does have some similarities to those fragrances. It's definitely not an inspired by or a clone fragrance of them, but that's just kind of something you can think about if you want to kind of get an idea of how this smells. This has the mandarin orange from those fragrances. It also has the musk and the tonka bean. So you get kind of that citrusy creaminess and like the sweetness from those 3 notes. But like I said, this has oud in it. This also has gaiac wood. There's some cardamom in here as well, so you get a little bit of a spiciness. Again, the oud is not heavy. The gaiac wood here comes across very light. It's not a heavy gaiac wood. provides a very light leathery touch to this fragrance. I honestly think that the dominant note here is that mandarin orange and then probably the tonka bean. So a nice rich woody, slightly leathery, fruity, creamy smell. Very easy to wear, very appealing, just kind of a dumb reach fragrance and perfect for the springtime. If you guys are looking to try something from this house, kind of get introduced to it, this is a great place to start. And again, it's perfect for the springtime. So again, at the number 9 spot, that was Kajal Homme. At the number 8 spot, we have an amazing fragrance from a very small Indian niche house. The problem with this niche house is they basically make a limited run of fragrances and then they discontinue them and they make a new run. So when they release a fragrance, if you like it, whether you've sampled it or you've just tried it somewhere else, you need to get the bottle then and there because pretty soon it will be unavailable. This one is from Dixit and Zach and it's called Rising Mysore 2. Oh my gosh. So this stuff is phenomenal, guys. And like I said, this is a limited run, just like all of their other fragrances. I believe this one is still in production. And if it's not, there is still quantity out there that you can buy from at a reasonable price. And I definitely recommend this is one you guys get now, whether it be a sample or a bottle if you really think you're gonna like it enough. As far as what this fragrance is about, it is classified as a chypre, but it's a very modern chypre. This does not come across old school or like, you know, grandpa smelling or anything like that. Very elegant and modern. And they've taken the Rising Mysore 1 or the original Rising Mysore DNA and they've westernized it and modernized it. This has a crazy note breakdown. It has like 30 different fragrance notes in it. So it's really hard to kind of pick out individual ones because it is blended amazingly. Personally for me, what I get the most is the neroli. There's some orange in here among some other citruses. I also get some lavender, some cardamom. There is a little bit of cinnamon and then even some sandalwood. So you get a nice fruity citrus, a little bit spicy, kind of edible in a way. It honestly kind of gives you a Coca-Cola vibe, but this does not smell like other Coca-Cola fragrances like Enigma from ROJA or Armani Code Absolute, for example. This is completely different from those. And part of the reason that this thing can separate itself so much is because this fragrance is 100% natural. There's no synthetics in this fragrance at all, which can be a negative maybe because you do not get the best performance. I get about 5 to 7 hours, really depends on the day. Synthetics boost longevity. Unfortunately, this one does not have synthetics to do that, but it is 100% natural, so it smells probably more high quality than anything else you will have in your collection. And like I said, it has a phenomenal just scent structure to it. It's like a spicy, citrusy kind of Coca-Cola vibe with a little bit of a woodiness in the background. A little bit floral at the same time. This thing smells phenomenal. You guys can see I keep smelling the bottle. I absolutely love this stuff. If you want a very high quality, natural smelling fragrance for the spring that kind of gives you a Coca-Cola vibe, you need to check this one out. They do have samples at Lucky Scent, I believe. If you buy a fragrance from there, you can request a sample of this stuff for free, and then that way you can at least try it out. So again, at the number 8 spot, that was Rising Mysore 2 from Dixit and Zach. Next at the number 7 spot, we have one of my favorite fragrances from this house, and of the fresh offerings they have, this is absolutely there at the top. It is from Parfums de Marly, and it is Sedley. Guys, this stuff is great. If you haven't tried this one in particular, the 2020 release, you really need to. I never tried the original 2019 release. I heard that the performance was garbage. It lasted like 4 hours. They actually redid this fragrance, released it at the start of 2020 last year, and boosted the longevity a ton. So like I said, I never tried the original, but from this 2020 bottle that I have right here, my first wearing I ever did, and this is like back in April, I wanna say, I got 24 hours on my skin, and I'm not kidding. Obviously, you know, I didn't like try and wash it off or anything during that time, but I got a solid day of longevity with probably about 8 to 10 hours of really heavy projection. Like they did something when they reformulated this, at least for the first few batches of the release, and this thing's beast mode. One of the best projecting, longest lasting fresh fragrances out there. And not only that, this thing smells amazing. It is kind of a blue fragrance, which can be hinted at by the color of the bottle, but it does not come across like shower gel or anything like that. It smells very high quality. You do get some ambroxan in here with a little bit of kind of a screechy metallic touch to it, but it's not heavy at all. This thing for me mostly is quite elegant. You get some mint and then rosemary in here, so you get kind of an icy, crisp, herbaceous quality to it. It also has a fruit basket of citruses in the top. You do get some woody notes in here as well. There's even a little bit of lavender to give you kind of an aromatic touch to this, so it makes it a little bit classy and like more gentlemanly. This is just a great warm weather fragrance. I think it could be maybe a little bit heavy for the summer. You would pull it off as long as you controlled your sprays, but for springtime, this stuff is perfect. And like I said, beast mode. So if you guys want a really long lasting, fresh fragrance for the spring, something that does have a little bit of kind of a metallic but upscale and gentlemanly smell to it, this is a great one. And again, beast mode. So again, at the number 7 spot, that was Parfums de Marly Sedley. Next, at the number 6 spot, we have a fairly simple fragrance as far as the note breakdown goes and the smell, but there's something with this where it is just so sexy and it is perfect for this time of year. It's from Pierre Guillame and it's called Le Musc and La Peau. Guys, so I tried this in a first impressions video actually last week, I believe, so I am fairly new to this fragrance, but I already have worn it twice. This stuff is fantastic off your skin. I was fairly underwhelmed in that video when I tried it on paper, but I'm telling you, this is a completely different wearing experience on your skin. This is one of those fragrances that really, it falls flat on paper, but it opens up on your skin. And it's kind of interesting because according to the perfumer and kind of the idea of this fragrance, it's basically supposed to smell like you've taken your skin and rubbed it with some rosemary and like herbs. And so you kind of get like a slightly clean animalic touch with an herbaceous quality. But there's more going on than that even. It is so clean and creamy smelling. It has kind of an airy and aldehydic vibe to it. So it kind of, you know, pops and jumps off your skin a little bit. It has a presence in the air that is big, but not heavy and cloying, if that makes sense. This fragrance wears extremely light, but it has a presence to it. And this is kind of something that will boost your natural smell, if that makes sense. It can kind of mix with your body chemistry and just make you smell like 10 times better. It's a really kind of unique scent and it's really hard to describe, but this is something you just need to try for yourselves. A phenomenal fragrance, perfect for the springtime. Again, that was Le Musc and La Peau from Pierre Guillame. Next, at the number 5 spot, we have one of the best fragrances from ROJA Dove, in my opinion. I have tried quite a few, and this is in my top 3, possibly even my top 2. I think this is a great fragrance. It is a Midsummer Dream. Guys, oh my gosh. I just did a review on this stuff, and if you see me do a fragrance review, it's because I really, really like the fragrance. At least 9 times out of 10, that'll be the case. Again, this is such a great fragrance. I had to dedicate an entire video to it. Perfect for the springtime. It may be called a Midsummer Dream, but this is a spring fragrance through and through. Reason being is this has some uplifting kind of lighter qualities to it, but it does kind of wear a little bit heavy at the same time. You have some grapefruit and bergamot at the top to give you that lightness, you know, that citrusy touch that we see in a lot of spring and summer fragrances, but you also do have a very heavy presence from some elemi and benzoin. Those are 2 resins and they kind of create a sweet kind of piney balsamic accord. You also have some woody notes in here. There's even cardamom and then a light rose note. And there's more going on than that, but those are the notes that I pick out most prominently. In all, this is a woody, piney, kind of resinous, sweet, floral, citrusy fragrance, and it works perfectly in the spring. Every time I smell this, my mind just goes somewhere out in the woods on like a warm spring day where there's like gusts of warm air kind of blowing through the trees. You have the sun rays pouring down. Maybe there's some birds, you know, around chirping and whatnot, but it's just very calming and relaxing, but uplifting at the same time. It is kind of a fun fragrance, but it does have an elegance and a class to it as well. So if you want something that's gonna put you in a really like calm spring mindset, this is a great one. Again, at the number 5 spot, that was ROJA Dove's A Midsummer Dream. Next, at the number 4 spot, we have a fragrance that I would say is more tailored towards the nighttime in spring or maybe for like a date night situation. This has a very sexy feel to it. It's from Serge Lutens and it's called 5 o'clock au Gingembre. This fragrance right here, if you have smelled Plum Japonais, the discontinued fragrance from Tom Ford, this one I would say is 80 to 90% similar. So if you're looking for that fragrance because you think you missed out, don't just stop your search. This is all you need right here. This is $60, $70 for a full bottle, and you get a very similar smell, although this one is on the lighter side, hence why I think this is better for spring. This takes that warm, resinous, kind of sweet, fruity DNA. You replace the plum with some ginger, and then you add tea and bergamot to the top, and you get a nice fragrance like this right here. The tea makes it very calming. The bergamot just adds to that lightness. And then the ginger here, it's not a very crisp ginger. It actually is a little bit heavier, and I do kind of get a plum taste or like touch from this fragrance, and I just think that's why I get a comparison from this to Plum Japonais. But this is such a great fragrance still. I think it smells just as good. It's not a cheaper like knockoff version of that fragrance. The quality is here, but it's just at a better price, and it's more tailored for the warmer weather. This is sweet, sexy, spicy, a little bit fruity, and like I said, perfect for date night, so this is quite seductive as well. So if you're looking for something for the springtime to wear on a night out or for a date, this is the one you want to reach for. Again, that was Serge Lutens 5 o'clock Eau Gingembre. At the number 3 spot, we have a fragrance from a house that actually I'm not too familiar with. This is the only fragrance I've tried from them. However, this thing is phenomenal, and owning this fragrance and trying it, testing it, wearing it and whatnot has really made me want to expand my horizons, you could say, and try more fragrances from this house. It's from Penhaligans, and it is Bayolea. Man, the caps on here are pretty snug, but as far as this fragrance goes, basically what it's about is it takes kind of a barbershop style fragrance where you have lavender, oak moss, there is some spices in here as well, and it lightens that up, doesn't make it quite as like old man smelling, a little bit more modern, and it adds a ton of citruses at the top with a very unique note of lemongrass. Now, I've never seen lemongrass used in any other fragrance, and I'm not saying that they don't use it, but I'm just saying for the fragrances that I've seen and that I've tried and that I've owned, I've never seen it used. So I think that makes this fragrance quite unique. Lemongrass comes across a little bit hay-like and grassy, but very herbal and lemony, citrusy smelling, so hence lemongrass. You could kind of imagine it as blending a very clean vetiver note with a lemon note. Putting those together, that's kind of how you could imagine lemongrass. But it's also paired with some tangerine here for kind of a different citrusy nuance, a little bit sweeter. And like I said, this has lavender in it. It's got oak moss, it's got some spices, there's some woods in here. So a very elegant, clean smelling fragrance. This is I would say a great daytime, just kind of bright fragrance because it is quite citrusy, but it's classy at the same time. Again, not old man smelling at all. This does have a modern feel to it. So a great kind of aromatic style fragrance with some spices and then a prominent lemongrass note. Again, that was Penhaligans Bayolea. At the number 2 spot, we have a fragrance that absolutely blew me away when I first tried it. This is a phenomenal fragrance in my opinion. It's from Byredo and it's called Sundazed. Oh my gosh, guys, you need to try this stuff. If you take anything away from this video, it's that you need to get a sample of Sundazed and just try it. This does lean, I would say, probably 60% feminine. It is almost down the middle unisex, but it is a little bit more on that feminine side. But if you don't have a problem with wearing unisex fragrances, or fragrances that do lean a little bit more feminine, you guys need to try this. This thing smells amazing. So as far as Byredo goes, I have tried a lot of the popular fragrances like Bal d'Afrique, Mojave Ghost, Gypsy Water, among a few others, and none of them have really impressed me. They've all been extremely weak, kind of uninspiring, just citrusy fragrances, very light, but nothing special. This one, on the other hand, is completely different in my opinion. It is citrusy and more oriented towards the warm weather, hence why it's in this video. But this has such a phenomenal scent to it, and it lasts a decent amount of time as well. I get about 7-ish, maybe 8 hours with this fragrance, and like I said, this thing has an amazing scent to it. As far as the scent goes, the note breakdown is quite simple. You have some mandarin orange and then lemon in here. There's also some white florals like jasmine, sambanc, and then neroli, but the really unique and standout note for this fragrance is cotton candy. Yes, you heard that right, cotton candy. This thing is extremely sweet. I would call it a warm weather gourmand because it kind of comes across like a fruity drink, like a very sweet fruity drink, or like some kind of like fruity dessert. It does really smell quite edible. The white florals here come across just very light and refreshing. They're used in kind of the same style as you would see in fragrances like Tom Ford Neroli Portofino, where they're extremely light. They're not heavy and powdery or anything like that. But for me, the standouts here are those citruses at the top and then the cotton candy. This is just such a sexy fragrance. I absolutely love wearing this. This is another one of those fragrances where I'll pick up the bottle and just sniff the atomizer repeatedly because it is so good. Again, if you guys take anything away from this video, if you don't have an issue with unisex fragrances, is you need to try this fragrance, get a sample or something, because it is kind of expensive. But I think a lot of you will probably end up enjoying this. I know I certainly did. I'm really glad I got a sample of this because I ended up buying a bottle the same day I tried the sample. That's how good it was to me. So again, the number 2 spot, one you guys need to try, Byredo Sundazed. And finally at the number 1 spot, we have just an easy to wear dumb reach fragrance for the spring. It's from Maison Francis Kurkdjian and it's Amorous Homme. So think of a location, a time of day, maybe an outfit you're wearing. All of that does not matter. You can wear this fragrance for anything and everything. It has that versatility to it. This is basically a niche quality designer fragrance where it has that niche quality and scent structure to it, but it has the ease of wear of a designer fragrance. That's not knocking this fragrance at all. I think the fact that something can smell this good and this high of quality, but be very easy to wear at the same time is quite phenomenal. Francis Kurkdjian did an amazing job with this fragrance. It's kind of an interesting fragrance because of the note breakdown. And as far as the notes go, you have mandarin orange, there's some rosemary, there's amorous of course, also some iris, but you also get some heavier notes like coffee, chocolate, coconut, and then even some oud. So you get kind of a collision of 2 sides of fragrance notes where you get these lighter, crisper, refreshing notes and then some heavier notes on the other side. In all, this fragrance does come across lighter than you would expect based on that note breakdown. To me, it comes across very orangey smelling, mixing with that rosemary, giving it kind of a herbaceous crispness to it. And then the amorous is definitely prominent here, of course, hence the name. But you also do get a sweet creaminess to it from the coconut and then the milk chocolate. I don't really get much of the oud. So a phenomenal fragrance. Again, if you just want something really easy to wear, something you don't even have to think twice about spraying on because you know it's gonna work in any situation, this is the fragrance I'm recommending for you. So again, at the number 1 spot, that was Maison Francis Kurkdjian, Amorous Homme. Well, there you go. Those are my top 10 niche fragrances for spring 2021. I'm really curious what you guys plan on wearing this spring as far as niche fragrances go. And again, if you want to see a designer list like this for the spring, just let me know and I can definitely do that going forward. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate dropping a like just to show your support, and then that way more people can see my videos on YouTube. Additionally, if you want to write that comment I was talking about or let me know any other ideas or topics, that would be great too. And since you're down there doing all that stuff, if you have not already, if you could subscribe and hit the bell notification, that would be fantastic. That way you stay up to date on new videos whenever they get released going forward. But with all that out of the way, that's all I really have for you guys today. So I hope you have a good one. Stay healthy, stay wealthy, and smell great.